Hello, I'm Michael Bruen. Welcome to Seniors Today, a monthly program produced by the Commission on Aging and devoted entirely to issues and interests of Montgomery County seniors. This month we learn about a very old organization with a very new name right here in Montgomery County. And we'll speak with a writer, sculptor, expressive arts therapist, and educator about a creative aging. But first, SAGE, which stands for Services and Advocacy for GLBT Elders, is the nation's oldest and largest service organization for gay and lesbian older adults. And SAGE CAP is a unique partnership between the LGBT Health Resource Center of Chase Brexton Healthcare in Baltimore and SAGE. And joining me to tell us more about this partnership is Nate Sweeney, the Executive Director of the Health Resource Center at Brexton. And Nate, very happy to have you on the show.
Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it.
We've had the former president of SAGE in Washington, D.C. On the show before, but for people who aren't aware of what SAGE is, could you just fill people in on what is SAGE?
Sure, absolutely.
Its history.
So SAGE is an organization that started in New York, it approximately, I believe, 1978 or 1979.
Really? Wow.
Yes.
Cool.
And they have been working on issues facing LGBT older adults that entire time. They work primarily in two spheres. One is going into aging service organizations and trying to teach them more about LGBT issues, and then also working within the LGBT community to combat the ageism that is really rampant.
And are there regional, national, it's a national organization, are there state
Yes.
things? How is it broken down?
So it is a national organization, and their headquarters are up in New York, but they have affiliates all across the country. There is a DC chapter, just like you mentioned.
Right.
And in Baltimore, there wasn't a chapter, and there wasn't anything really happening around LGBT aging, which is why they came to us at Chase Brexton Healthcare to partner and try to build up some infrastructure around the issues facing LGBT older adults and their informal caregiving networks.
So you really developed this program?
We replicated a program that SAGE had done in New York, really focusing on supporting the needs of caregivers in the LGBT community.
Oh, sure. Mm-hmm. Which of course is so appropriate for the show. But for example, are there particular issues that people might not be aware of that would be necessary for the community?
Absolutely. Caregiving is a real issue in America, and we rely on informal family caregiving as part of a crucial piece of healthcare. And what a lot of people don't realize is that 1 in 5 Americans will end up being a caregiver at some point in their life.
Right.
It's actually 1 in 4 in the LGBT community. And they think there's a couple of reasons why it happens more frequently. The first is that for folks older than the baby boomers, they really see a lot of folks who very often are isolated from their blood relatives,
True.
have moved across the country, moved to different cities, and they formed families of choice. Well, those families of choice have been caring for each other, and they've been aging together. So, we kind of call it the Golden Girls model of looking out for each other.
Right.
The other piece is that within the baby boomers, AARP, when they were doing a caregiving survey, added a question about sexual orientation and gender identity. And what they discovered is that in families, it is more often the LGBT child who steps up to take care of their aging parents than the other brothers and sisters. And they think that has to do with the fact that LGBT folks are less likely to have children, and so in family dynamics that becomes the responsibility for then caring for the parent.
Right. Well, I want to say it's also a caring community. I used to be with the Paulus Fathers, and I was working in UCLA Medical Center back in the early 80s when AIDS was coming out. And I had the 2 floors where this new disease was. We weren't even sure if it was airborne or not.
Right.
But regardless of who came in as the patient, there was a great community support. I think it's a caregiving community.
It is.
In general.
Absolutely. The legacy of caregiving is something that is very familiar to the LGBT community for exactly that reason. But it also, that caregiving then comes with a lot of trauma. As you've been in the 1980s caring for friends and lovers and others
over and over
in
Yeah.
really intense medical situations. And fast forward to today where HIV is much more of a manageable disease, but you have friends who now have Parkinson's disease or who have
Correct.
dementia. And
Correct.
a lot of those memories around caregiving can come up, and it becomes very challenging to navigate that for some people.
Well, Nate, we only have 3 minutes left, so if people, you're a resource. If people wanted more information, is there somewhere they could call or a website they could go to?
Absolutely. So 2 numbers to be aware of. One is our number at the LGBT Health Resource Center, which is 410-837-2050, and press number 8 for the LGBT Health Resource Center.
Okay.
And SAGE actually runs a national hotline, which is 1-888-234-SAGE. And so that is for LGBT older adults who are feeling isolated and want someone to talk to.
Well, we were in the green room before the show talking about this isolation. Is there a website if people are interested?
Absolutely.
Your web, I guess.
Our website is www.chasebrexton.org.
And just go right to that, and then
You can click right onto the LGBT Health Resource Center.
Wonderful, wonderful. Well, let's, what are some new developments? For example, the culture, the national culture has changed so much. In fact, it's now being recognized. You and I were talking in the green room. There's something happening at a national level now?
Yes.
What?
So May 16th of every year has been designated as National Honor Our LGBT Elders Day.
Really?
It's a chance for the LGBT community to look, especially the younger folks, to look and to say, you know, all of these changes that you're talking about, all of the rights that we have, are sitting on the shoulders of those who came before us. So it's a way to thank that our elders for all the work that they've done.
As you know, with so many civil rights issues, it's the pioneers who really had to suffer.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Well, you know, Nate, we've run out of time. You and I could have spent 30 minutes talking about this, but thank you very much for giving us the time and coming from Baltimore.
Absolutely, appreciate it.
When we return, we'll learn about how fragile seniors can get connected to a friendly visitor program or get help with financial issues here in Montgomery County. So please stay with us. We'll be right back.
Visit aarp.org/caregiving for information on how to provide even better care for the person who wants to care of you.
In Montgomery County, we have a goal to reduce waste and recycle 70% of all waste by 2020. By recycling and reducing waste, we save natural resources and make our community even better. So recycle at home, work, school, everywhere, and keep recycling going. For more information, call the Montgomery County, Maryland Division of Solid Waste Services at 311 or visit montgomerycountymd.gov/recycling.
Keep it going.
Recycle more now.
Did you know there are more than 10,000 county government phone numbers? But there's only one number you need to remember for non-emergency calls, 311. MC311 is Montgomery County government's online telephone information system. Need information? Have a problem or complaint? Trying to locate a county government facility? Call 311. The call center is open Monday through Friday, 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. The website is available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.
Welcome back to Seniors Today. Under the banner A New Name for a New Era, the Mental Health Association is now known as EveryMind. And my guest can not only fill us in the new direction of this old organization, but also about 2 programs specifically of interest to seniors. She is Vili Iranpour, the program coordinator of the Representative Payee program and the Friendly Visitors program, both with EveryMind's Adult and Community Services. And Vili, thanks for taking the time to come here.
Thank you for having me.
So, the old organization is 60 years old. What was behind changing the name?
So Mental Health Association of Montgomery County, we wanted to change the name due to the stigma attached to mental health and focus and start conversations more on mental wellness, which affects every person, every mind, hence the name Every Mind.
Absolutely. And in fact, mental illness is only a very small part of that. We also have, for example, dementia and Alzheimer's, stress in families. I mean, previously we were talking about caregiving, and those kinds of stressful things can have an impact on how cognitively aware you can be because you're under pressure all the time.
Right. And it affects families and communities. So.
Exactly.
Right.
1 in 4,
right.
again, as a matter of fact. Well, the two programs that you coordinate, one of them is this representative payee. What is that?
So representative payee, we basically recruit, train, and supervise volunteers to manage federal benefits for the residents of Montgomery County. They have to be on limited income. It's due to disability. They're residents that are most vulnerable to financial exploitation and neglect. And so the volunteers are basically appointed by a federal agency, and they manage the bank accounts, the bills for our clients. Yes.
But I mean, they actually have access to people's checking accounts and things like that?
Yeah, so they open up their own checking account for the client's funds, and we do monitor their bank accounts so that to make sure that the volunteers are spending it, correctly.
Sure.
And this way the clients have less stress, basically managing their essentials like their rent and their food, medical expenses, and volunteer. Yeah.
Well, and speaking of isolation, sometimes people don't have children to help them with that. I mean, if someone's living alone and they're having memory issues, what is it that they can do in order to survive in this world if they want to still be living independently? Now, how does someone that's a critical role. That's very into someone's personal life if you're talking about finances.
Right.
How do you get your volunteers? What do they have to be or do?
I think for representative pay is 21 and older, and they don't need a background in accounting, but we do train them and we go through a background check and reference check, but we do have an intensive training program.
Sure. And a background check, and I'm sure everything.
Check, yes.
But and are they certified, these volunteers?
No, they're appointed by the federal agency. So after they go through the training and the background check and the reference checks, the federal agency will have to do an interview and appoint them.
Really? So, for example, SSI, if someone's on Medicare, Medicaid, SSI, then those organizations are actually vetting these people as well.
Yes.
And do you know how many you have?
We have about 85 currently.
Oh, wow. And okay, so perhaps I'm sitting at home and I could use some help.
Yes.
How would I get in touch with you? Is there a phone number or a website?
Yes. So www.every-mind.org.
Right.
And
which is a great site, by the way.
It's a great site. And then our phone number is 301-424-0656. And then we also have a 24/7 resource and support line, which is 301-738-CALL, which is 2255.
Oh, wonderful. Okay.
Yeah.
And so that's one of the programs, and then the other one is an interesting name, but Friendly Visitor?
Friendly
As
Visitors.
opposed to Aggressive Visitor? Or no?
Right,
I'm kidding.
right.
I'm
So
kidding.
Friendly Visitor directly supports our seniors in the county who are isolated and homebound. So we again get volunteers, and we match volunteers based on interest and geographic location, and the volunteers go out 1 hour a week and just provide companionship and friendship, share stories, play games, and that way the clients have some sort of support.
And now, if someone needed a ride to a doctor's appointment, does a
We
Friendly
don't.
Visitor do that? Or you're trying to, because there are other organizations.
Yes, so we would help
JCA
connect them
does all
to.
of that. There are other
Yes.
organizations. Exactly.
Yes.
But this person is really there for the health,
Yes, for friendship.
the mental health
Yes.
of this person.
Yes.
How do you train these people as well?
We do train them as well. Again, background check, fingerprinting, they.
Do they come from? Do they tend? I don't want to generalize people, but do they tend to be, say, retired people or
All kinds.
all ages?
All ages. Again, it's 18 and older, so some might work full-time, some work part-time, some are retired and they want to give back to the community, but it's all ages that want to just provide support. We've had someone 21 and we've had someone 65.
Really?
Yes.
Really? And the commitment is 1 hour a week
For a year.
For a year.
But
that's good to know.
Yeah, but we've had a lot of volunteers that have stayed 5, 6, 7.
Exactly.
10
I can
years.
only
Yes.
well, in typical of volunteering, I think when we volunteer, we get
Yeah.
more out of it than I think we actually think we're providing for someone else. But what a
Right.
critical thing for isolation.
Right.
And are they essentially independent living people in their own homes, or are they at Leisure World as well?
It's
as
Leisure
well,
World.
or it doesn't matter?
Yeah, so it's Leisure World as well. It's independent living. Sometimes they can live with a relative. We would assess that case by case, because sometimes even if a relative lives with them, they're working all the time. So
Precisely.
the mom and dad are home
Precisely.
alone. Right. And we try not to do nursing homes, but it's mostly for isolation.
Right.
Right. So
And
home
okay,
health.
so again, if someone is interested, or let's say the daughter or son of someone wanted to maybe be an opportunity for their mom and dad,
Yes.
how would they get in touch with you?
So www.every-mind.org.
Right.
And then they can also call 301-424-0656. And it's the Friendly Visitor Program, so they would be directly connected.
Wonderful. And how long have you been with them?
I have been with the Friendly Visitor Program about like eight months, but I have been with Every Mind about 2.5, almost
And-
3 years.
And they just had their 60th ananniversary,
Yes.
the gala, but
Yes.
how long have you been Every Mind as an organization? When did you make the change?
We made the change September 2015 or 2016.
Okay.
Yeah.
So a few years, maybe
So
three,
just, I think 1 year now.
1 or 2 years?
Yeah.
It's a tremendous concept, and it's a great website.
It's a great
And your mission statement really is for all mental health, and I think that's great.
Yes.
Well, thanks very much for being on the
Thank
show.
you for having me.
It's very nice to have you.
Thank you.
When we return, we'll have a conversation with someone who pioneered with her husband combining creativity and science to improve the lives of older adults. So please stay with us. We'll be right back.
Hey, mister! Down here. You illegally passed the stop school bus. I'm placing you in timeout. And this timeout means big fines, plus you really could have hurt somebody. That's why school buses are being equipped with video cameras to help kids like me stay safe. So respect the bus.
The pain will not control us. It will never break us, define us, or keep us still. Because arthritis can't beat us if we beat it first. In the fight against arthritis, you need a weapon. What's yours? Visit the Arthritis Foundation at fightarthritispain.org.
Be active, Montgomery. Be active, Montgomery. Be active, Montgomery. Be active, Montgomery.
Welcome back to Seniors Today. I'm Michael Bruen. Through their scientific research and clinical practice, husband and wife team Gene Cohen and Wendy Miller uncovered new clues about how the aging mind can build resilience and continue growth, even during times of grave illness, thus setting aside the traditional paradigm of aging as a time of decline. And joining me to tell us about the fruits of this wonderful partnership and her new book is Wendy Miller, a writer, sculptor, expressive arts therapist, educator, and among other things, the co-founder of Create Therapy Institute. And Wendy, thanks for coming on.
Thank you so much,
We
Michael.
have-
It's lovely to be here.
I want to let everybody know that Gene passed away a few years ago, but that we've been doing this show for 29 years, and we have had Gene on 2 or 3 times over the years, just because of who he was,
Right.
but also because of the content. But you both have really devoted your lives to an issue that people may take for granted now. I was joking in the green room before the show, everyone knows to do crossword puzzles now when we're older because we have to keep our mind alive. You guys were at the cutting edge of that. Tell me about that. Tell me about this.
Well, really, Gene is someone who has been thinking about aging and looking at aging for a very, very long time. He was at the National Institute of Mental Health right after becoming a doctor in the public health service. And he really was the person who said, you know, I don't really know how you can study cancer and Alzheimer's and diabetes and all these various illnesses if you don't know what happens in the natural development of aging. In other words, the sense of having aging and illness intertwined gives you a skewed vision. And that really was a gigantic sea change because he really focused on, well, okay, if you separate these two and you look at what is going on just in the natural process of aging, then it is not only decline, it is also potential. There's also new possibilities. There's also growth. And he really, really focused on that and became quite well known, as you know, which is why you had him here. And what makes me so happy to be here.
We would have had him anyway. This is delightful. And I'm happy to have you. And I'm sorry that we didn't have you on together as a team. That would have been great. Because again, when we were talking before the show, I mean, Gene was bringing the science, but the idea of the brain as a muscle and continuing to use it and exercise it and actually blossom, you know, the idea of second and third careers now, when we're aging and we finish our first career and we raise our kids, and then it's no longer go sit on a chair somewhere on a porch. People are really excited, and you guys pioneered that, but the creative part of that came from you. Tell me about that part.
Well, first of all, I was thinking about how Gene used to say, I met him really at his retirement from the National Institute of Health. That's when I met him. But he told me right away, he was 49 years old, and he said, it's not really retirement, it's rehirement. Because right away, I mean, he left NIH, and then in one fell swoop, he started a game company, his Washington, D.C. Center on Aging, and he started the center at GW. So he had, you know, the university think tank, a for-profit and a non-profit, you know, and all of it really was very much focused on the whole idea that the greatest example of potential is creativity. That, you know, that the ultimate manifestation of our potential is creativity. We get older, we get older from the moment we're born, and there's a developmental process. And in that developmental process, there are certain things that happen, and as he would say, it's not in spite of aging that they happen, it's because of aging. And for him, he really looked at the brain and the scientific side of that. And he talked a lot about how people would go, well, but, you know, all the time. You know, he loved that, the gotcha, you know. And for example, the Herald model that has to do with the asymmetry. As we get older, we use both sides of our brain. And people would say to him, well, that's just because it's like compensatory, you know, it's like a crutch or something. And he'd be like, no, you have that totally wrong. It's because developmentally, as we get older, we have more material to use.
Well, and there's this whole brain research now that I'm really intrigued with about plasticity. So that we're able to, you know, it used to be your brain cells die and you don't, and that's not the issue at all. We can rewire our brains, we're actually developing new neurons and new pathways. Now, with this partnership, though, so I got the scientist guy, but then I got the praxis, I believe, that you really brought to this equation. I mean, therapy and art. How did you get involved with what was your trajectory?
Well, I'm an art therapist, and I have been an art therapist. Interestingly enough, I don't know that many people who knew when they were really little what they wanted to do. I mean, Gene at age 12 went to Woodhull and studied, you know, the slicing some kind of fish where you could look at something that would tell you about the age of it, and that would give you information. Well, I had a broken leg, a ski accident. I grew up in Maine, and we all ski. And I had a ski accident as a young child, and I went to Children's Hospital in Boston so that they could put pins in my leg and reset my leg. And there was a woman there.
Oh, for therapy.
I don't know what you called her then. Was it activity therapy? Was it recreation therapy? But whatever it was, I came home and said, I am going to be that woman when I grow
Oh,
up.
for crying out
And
loud.
as the years went on, whether it was psychology or special education or art teacher or art specialist or
Right.
art grantee, you know, arts council grants, whatever it was that I did under any title, I would always say to myself, how close is this to that woman?
Right.
And eventually, of course, I
Oh.
became an art therapist and an expressive arts therapist, but you know, I do this under many hats.
Yeah, well, I know.
But,
You've got enough initials after
I
you.
have-
I just,
right.
for crying out loud. We only have about 2 minutes left, so I
Okay.
wanted to talk a new author. May I steal the book?
Absolutely, absolutely.
So, you know, Sky Above Clouds, Finding Our Way Through Creativity, Aging, and Illness. And this is recently published.
It's
Tell me.
recently published, March of 2016. It's a book that Gene and I worked on together. He passed away in 2009. We started writing in 2005. And then when he passed away, we had a book. It had a different title, and it was very chronological. It was a scientist and an artist's voice, but it was chronological of his life and,
Right.
and facing these challenges. And of course, an outlier, really, because he was diagnosed with something that didn't really manifest for 14 years. So he was an outlier. But then when
Yeah.
he passed away, I would have chapter 11 be he died.
Yeah.
And there's no way I could do that.
No.
Particularly if one knows about grief, as we listened to on this program today,
Yes.
about all the kinds of caregiving.
Well, you and I were
You know.
talking about that. You have there's that book that's out, The Year of Magical Living.
Magical thinking, yes,
Magical thinking,
exactly.
But you have another phrase.
Well, what I said to you is, and I love that book, it's Joan Didion's book, but I said, really, a very dear colleague of mine who was ahead of me in this role of being a widow, she said to me after 2 years when Gene had passed away, yes, this is the year of the disbelief period.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what it felt like at that point, where
Sure.
you've lived long enough without the person to know that he's not here, but that doesn't mean you don't wake up every single day
And hear
being
their voice.
reminded. The
Exactly.
grief is a really complicated process.
Well,
you
you were
know, as we
lovely to
know.
come and share your time with
Thank
me.
you
I
so
really
much.
appreciate it.
It's
And
just delightful.
We'll have to have you back. We can talk more about the book. There was too much to talk about. But
Yes.
thanks for being on.
Thank you very much.
Okay. Well, that's it for this month's Seniors Today. Don't forget that you can access a great deal of information about county services for seniors by going to the county website, the senior website, at www.montgomerycountymd.gov/seniors, or call the Senior Resource Line at 240-777-3000. And as always, thank you for watching Seniors Today.
Introducing Ride On Extra, coming to Route 355, fall of 2017. The bus with less stop and more go. Regular Ride On service has 80 stops between Lake Forest Transit Center and the Medical Center Metro Station. Ride On Extra has 85% fewer stops. Plus, Ride On Extra is all about the extras. Free Wi-Fi, USB charging ports, real-time info displays, and runs every 10 minutes. It's Ride On Extra. Less stop, more go.
Here's your chance to save money and help the environment. Bring your reusable bag when you shop and you'll save 5 cents for every store bag you don't need. Retailers in Montgomery County charge 5 cents for the plastic or paper bags they provide. Why? Because plastic bags are the biggest single source of stream and waterway litter, causing pollution and flooding. And every year, Montgomery County spends $3 million on cleanup. So do yourself and the environment a favor. Bring your reusable bag when you shop. You'll fight litter and keep the change.
So, I'm kind of new here, but I've noticed a trend. My human does this funny thing where she goes around and gets all my toys, and then she hides them in that basket by the door. It's like, hello, that's where you put it last time. You were the worst at hide and go seek.
County Cable Montgomery, your information station.